This is the SFFaudio Podcast.
This is Jesse.
And I'm Scott. How are you doing this week, Jesse?
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
And to you. Happy Boxing Day.
Happy what?
Boxing Day.
Oh, happy Boxing Day. You bet. What the heck is Boxing Day?
Boxing Day. We talked about this years ago.
We did, yeah.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas.
Ah. And it's called that because people bring boxes around to people?
It's called that because, I guess in Victorian England, this is the day you would pack up all your clothes, old stuff, everything that you don't want anymore, and you pack it all up and you give it to your servants. Or
Nice.
something like that. Yeah.
Nice. So people aren't fighting on the streets on Boxing Day?
Actually, they are.
Oh.
Because today, modern times, this is the day you go to, you go shopping and fight for good deals.
I see.
You have Black Thursday or Black Friday. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah.
Sometime after Thanksgiving. It's the same idea, except more polite.
Gotcha. Yeah, somebody actually died here. I mean,
Yeah.
not where I am, but in the United States. I saw a story of a guy at Walmart, a greeter at Walmart that got killed by a crowd.
Well, you know, those Walmart crowds.
Yep.
Well, no, I don't think there's probably been some deaths on Boxing Day here, but usually that's from standing out in the cold in the middle of the December 25th night, waiting to be the first one in line for something.
Gotcha. Wow.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have got a lot of snow.
Yeah,
in
here
the
too.
last little while. Yeah, I think we're getting it from your area. It's Pacific Systems, they call them.
I think there's a lot of snow everywhere.
Through you and to us, I think.
Yeah, but there's snow on the east too, as well.
Yeah, there sure is. Plenty of it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I assume your listening habits change over the holidays. I haven't heard a darn thing for this whole week.
they did change, but not probably because of the normal reason. So, you know, DRM's a bitch, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, one thing you can do to get around DRM is just to swap iPods with someone.
Ah.
And that's what I did.
Oh.
So, Steen's in town visiting for the Xmas season, I guess.
I see.
And I had Old Man's War on my iPod, and he had one that I wanted to hear called The Winter Frankie Machine, which was a oral noir title. I guess it's a crime, sort of modern Godfather sort of story.
Uh-huh. Well, that's cool. It sounds good.
Now, the only problem with swapping iPods is when people listen at different rates.
Yes.
So I'm like, hey, are you done Old Man's War yet? And he's like, well, I'm working on it.
It's hard to listen to that.
I've only got 1 hour left. Hurry.
Oh, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got some recent arrivals for us.
Oh.
From Blackstone Audio.
Is this the post I did? Or
no, that's new releases, yeah. No,
okay.
I actually got, these are physically in our hands here.
Good.
Box from Blackstone Audio for the holidays. And what's better for the holidays than Philip K.
Dick? A box of stuff from Blackstone?
That's right. That's right. We mentioned these on the podcast as soon as we saw that they existed, but here they are. Volume 1 and Volume 2 of Philip K. Dick, The Selected Stories of Philip K. Dick.
Me.
Yeah. You bet. I'll read the table of contents. So Volume 1, it's about 8 hours long. Autofac, Progeny, The Exit Door Leads In, A Little Something for Us Tempunauts, The Last of the Masters, The Preserving Machine, Novelty Act, The War with the Phenolls, and The Electric Ant.
Yeah, so all of those except for the last one have, as far as I know, never been released on audio before.
Yeah, and that's neat. I'm glad that they did that.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
okay.
Electric Ant's a terrific story too. So,
Cool.
And it's out of print in audio, so that's perfect.
Who did it originally, or the other one that you know about?
Hayes.
Oh,
Dirk
okay.
Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, part of the Isaac Asimov favorites collection.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and Volume 2 has this stuff. Colony, Upon the Dull Earth, The Short Happy Life of the Brown Oxford, Faith of Our Fathers, The Days of Perky Pat, The Variable Man, and I Hope I Shall Arrive Soon.
Colony's the only one that had been released in any form prior, but I think that was only as a audio drama, a radio drama.
Okay.
From X-1.
Yeah. The Days of Perky Pat sounds familiar to me.
Days of Perky Pat is pretty influential. It's a sort of a story about it's a very Philip K. Dick story. It's a story about a future in which everybody likes to play with dolls, and these dolls are like what we're doing now. You know, sort of. We play virtual games, inhabit virtual worlds, and buy virtual things for our virtual avatars. Except in this case, they're actually physical objects as well. So, you know, if you play World of Warcraft, you want to have a war rhino for your character or something, and you want a big sword that's +7 or something like that.
Right.
Well, it works the same way, except this in this case it's actually a physical object. So your Barbie needs a new Ferrari, and that makes you happy when your Barbie gets a new Ferrari. Okay. So it's like toys for adults.
Gotcha. Cool. That does sound familiar to me. I must have read it. So
yeah, you take special drug while playing with these dolls, and that gives you the sense that these things are happening to you. I've never read the story, but that's what I've.
Oh, okay.
That's what I've gathered about.
All right, very nice. Okay, so that's those. So we got 2 more.
Cool.
Alpha by Catherine Asaro. 9.5 hours, read by Hilary Huber. Again, a Blackstone title. Let's see, it says...
I was just making a note that Recorded Books put out their first Catherine Asaro title ever.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
That's
kind of surprising. They've been very loyal to her over at Blackstone, so I guess that must be a separate series or something.
Yeah, it must be. Okay, this one is about a ruthless Charon, a ruthless criminal and practitioner of illegal robotics, has died, and General Thomas Warrington believes his team has deleted all the electronic copies of the inventor created of himself. But one major problem remains. Alpha, the sole survivor of Charon's cybernetic empire. Outwardly indistinguishable from a human woman, Alpha has superhuman capabilities, some of which are still unknown. I wonder if Joss Whedon's got a hold of this one.
Does that
Make a movie
like
out of it.
Dollhouse or something?
What's that?
Is that something like the plot of Dollhouse? I don't know.
No, it's not the plot of Dollhouse, but it looks like a lot of Joss Whedon's strong female characters, that kick butt. It's got a picture on the front of a woman holding 2 guns pointed at us.
Okay. Actually, I was noticing that they're doing really good art for the Asaro titles as well.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice.
Is that nice? And you have one more?
I have one more. Inferno by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle.
Hey, mine.
Read by
I
Tom
swear,
Weiner. Go ahead.
What? By Tom Weiner?
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta have that.
Okay.
I don't care. I'll kill someone.
Sounds good.
Okay.
It's 5.5 hours long, unabridged. And it's about
I'm really looking for
science fiction writer who finds himself in Dante's hell.
So how was your Xmas?
It was great. Yeah, had a good time. Yeah, we got a whole lot of snow. Yeah, the night before Christmas and the day of Christmas, man, did we get snow. Like a foot of snow. So, and then
we got
the day
more than a
after,
foot
we
here.
went up to visit my sister up in Idaho Falls. That was about 100 miles away. And drive was pretty good. But then the drive back last night was a little harrowing.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. But
we
had a
were
great time.
snowed in on, I guess it was Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to go up to my mother's house. Everybody have turkey and stuff like that. We're not used to snow here, so when
that surprises me. I guess it shouldn't.
Well,
You're right on the coast, right?
Yeah, when snow happens, it's unusual and people freak out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid to drive when the snow is really deep because my car doesn't have snow tires or even it just is rear wheel drive. It's not not ready for.
I've always felt pretty good if I'm on the interstate. Those are kept pretty clear, and if I have a front wheel drive car, I feel pretty good. So that's what we did. We have a van, a Toyota van that's got front wheel drive.
That's good.
But you just drive slower. If everyone else would do the same, that would help.
Yeah, it would.
The things that don't are the semi-trucks, the big giant 18-wheelers. They seem to just cruise along at normal speed, and when they pass you, you cannot see.
But they're heavy, so they can
they're heavy.
power through it.
Yeah, when
and
they pass you, they you get this deluge of stuff, and then you have at least 10 seconds of not being able to see a single thing. While your windshield wipers try and clear you a spot to see. So, but anyway, that's normal for here. It's funny. I lived in Tucson for a long time, 6 years anyway. I guess that's not too long. Anyway, I lived there for 6 years, and I remember it snowed there once when I was there. And they shut the place down. It's they're not used to it. But here we've got a foot of snow, and the next day everything's normal.
Yeah, I heard people were sleeping at work here.
Yeah.
It's like everything's closed. There's very little movement, and there was literally like a foot and a half of snow. So
wow, yeah.
It hasn't snowed this much in forever here.
Wow.
And it's
So
been a while.
next thing we've got glaciers gonna move down through Canada, huh?
Yeah. Well, they're just they seem to be on the retreat for the most part.
You bet. Yeah. I guess.
I
don't know. Are we due for another ice age? I remember looking into that.
Overdue or due? I don't think we're due for an ice age yet.
Yeah.
We're due for a polar reversal. We're not due for an
polar
ice age.
reversal. What's going to happen when that happens?
That's an unknown.
Unknown. Okay.
We talked about that a couple of shows ago.
Will podcasting continue? Because that's all I really care about.
That's true. That's good. A very good point. Good question.
Yeah.
Science fiction question. If I
blow gaskets on everyone's computers.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about, you've got new releases. I wanted to talk about some of the, you had recent rivals. I want to talk about some of the recent new releases.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. I saw your
giant post.
That was a giant post.
I don't know. I don't even know how many titles. It took hours and hours to assemble all this, and it's not even complete. It's just big.
Wow.
But I tried to sort it a little bit. It's not completely sorted, but there's some titles I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So Starship Rebel, I've finally got that. I actually haven't listened to it yet because it's not on my iPod. Well, it is on my iPod, but my iPod's in the hands of somebody else right now. And so I haven't listened to that one yet, but looking forward to that. Talked about some of the other Audible titles that had released as well. There was a bunch of Alan Steele.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you read any of the Coyote stuff?
I've never read anything.
Yeah, it looks like you got Coyote and Coyote Rising, 2 novels there. And
and
I know that the first Coyote was released. There was short stories, and I think they were pulled into a novel. But I had read at least 2 of those in Asimov's, I believe. Hope I'm not completely wrong. But good stuff.
I also got I even scanned it. Audiobook Case. That's the company by Wayne June, who is not here this week.
Yes.
But hopefully will be soon. He put out Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Wow.
Yeah. And I haven't been able to confirm that it's unabridged yet, but I'm assuming that it is. And because it's not a long, it's actually sort of novelette or novella length, I believe. This is 3 CDs, so it should be right. But it's a pre-release. Mine says review copy, so not 100% sure that it's out this month. But I'll contact Wayne June and find out for sure. And then the other thing that struck me while I was looking at the Blackstone site, this new audio drama version of the Maltese Falcon.
Yeah.
They've got a sample on the site. I couldn't figure out how to embed it, but sounds really good. It's got it's actually Yuri Rasovsky, which I didn't manage to put into the post for some reason, but
yeah, I have his one of the things in my to listen list is the Sherlock Holmes Theater. I've got that. And it's also put out by Blackstone and done by Yuri Rasovsky.
Yeah, that's
so
really
hopefully
cool.
we'll get a copy of this Maltese Falcon as well.
It's got 3 Hollywood actors.
And I don't know if they're going to release this on Audible. And
probably not.
I just want to reiterate, audio drama Audible needs to either release those in stereo, even if they're going to be bigger files, or you want to get the CD versions of your audio drama. Because it just sounds way better in stereo.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Sound quality's not high enough on Audible stuff.
Yeah, not for audio drama. For audiobooks, just fine.
But check out the sample on that. Click through, and you'll dig it.
Yeah.
And then they also have the 3 Stigmata Palmer Eldritch, which I think we may have even received.
I think we have received that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I wrote the summary I wrote for that was the literary equivalent of taking deliriums in church.
Nice.
Sounds good. And then there's a whole bunch more from Blackstone. I got a few of them. The one that sounds the most interesting of authors I've never heard of is called The Sacred Book of the Werewolf. And it's it sounds very Russian. It's it may be a translation. I'm not sure. But very interesting looking title.
And it takes place in Moscow, according to the description. Yeah.
Cool. In modern day Moscow.
Yeah.
CBC Audio, did you see what they released?
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Oh, I didn't realize that wasn't a package already.
No, it hadn't come out yet.
Well, that's great. Canadia 2056 is fantastic.
It's got
this thing.
uncut longer versions.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, now I have to have it. Well, wow. Okay, cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat. I listened to Steve the First and Steve the Second. I got to write up reviews for those. Those are things that Matt Watts did before Canadia, and they are just terrific. Oh man, they're funny. They make you laugh out loud. I was thinking, if you think of science fiction comedy, you think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, not the movie, but the books and the radio drama, and Red Dwarf comes to mind.
Yeah.
But the Canadias and the Steve the First and Steve the Second, I mean, they're way better than Red Dwarf. They absolutely are, and
I think that's pretty strong, but
I
really like
that. I've watched Red Dwarf, and they've got some really good moments in that show. But I think Steve the First was just so funny. It was great. I need to write up a review, and I'll do that. But if you like Red Dwarf or something, I urge you to give any of these a try. Anything by Matt Watts. Any of these radio dramas.
There's 4 now, right?
Yeah, Steve the First, Steve the Second, and then Canadia 2056 Season 1 and Season 2, yeah.
Now,
they're all terrific, every one of them. Good stuff.
Matt wrote on his website, on his blog, it sounds like Season 3 is not happening. It says December 8th post, Canadia 2056. Although the 3rd season hasn't been ruled out, it does look unlikely at this point. The 2nd season was supposed to be available online for pre-order 2 weeks ago, but surprise, surprise, there's a delay. Maybe it'll be available for Christmas, and it was just after or just on Christmas. But then again, maybe it won't. I've been flung back into the world of sketch comedy during the summer. I co-wrote a bunch of sketches for CBC Radio's The Irrelevant Show. Then I was brought in as head writer for a radio pilot featuring a couple of CBCers. And I've just finished a 4-week stint on a writing room developing a Bible for CBC television for a sketchish show. Huh. I'm not going to specifics on any of these only because I'm superstitious. I've got another radio pilot in the works, and I'm slowly working on a 3rd draft of the screenplay. Wow. So things are good. I'm working in a new apartment, and finally I've enlisted the help of a panic disorder specialist. I'm learning to cope with my anxiety and panic and can, for the first time in 20 years, see a light at the end of the tunnel. It sounds like he's a lot like his character. Both Steve and... Lieutenant Anderson? No, what's Crewman Anderson? Mm-hmm. What's his name?
Yep, Crewman Anderson, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, man. Just makes me laugh thinking about it. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. Mm-hmm. All right, and what else have we got here? Nova Swing by M. John Harrison. I don't know if there's a lot of M. John Harrison out as audiobook.
Yeah, I haven't read anything by him. But yeah, this is their that sci-fi imprint from Recorded Books, and yeah, I noticed the other day. One thing you don't have on this list. You remember we were talking about Love in the Time of Fridges? They have that over there at Audible. It's from Recorded Books, so it is released. So
okay.
I need to snag that after I get through my current pile.
Yeah, that one sounded really strange and very interesting.
Yeah, it sure does.
Under Tantor, I just spotted it. It's not even actually out yet. It's out in January 2009. The Steele Remains by Richard K. Morgan. Richard K. Morgan's the guy who has only written science fiction so far. This is his first fantasy, and looking forward to that. Says, epic fantasy is worked over in a classic Richard K. Morgan style, producing this unique combination of noir themes and savage action involving characters you wouldn't want to meet but will love to follow.
Wow. I mean, that's an intriguing description, Mm-hmm.
He writes really interesting.
I can think of, like Roger Zelazny, the Amber series is kind of noirish, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say a little bit, but it's also more humor-based, I would say, and that's not necessarily the case with Richard K. Morgan. There's not a lot of laugh-out-loud stuff. There's a lot of smirk here and a smirk there, but nothing super funny. Gotcha. The other title from Tantor that I heard good things about is World Fantasy Award winner called Replay. I guess it's from the 80s or 80s or early 90s. By Ken Grimwood, and I've never read anything by Ken Grimwood, but it's described as a time travel classic in the tradition of Jack Finney's Time and Again. Ken Grimwood's acclaimed novel Replay asks the provocative question: what if you could live your life over again without knowing the mistakes you've made before?
Wow. Yep.
Heard good things about it.
Yeah, and read by Bill DeFries, so got a great reader, so great.
Should be good. This is sort of probably a more oral noir title as well. Sherlock Holmes Was Wrong. Reopening the case of the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Huh.
And that's read by John Lee, who I believe you're a big fan of.
Yeah,
Pierre,
I'm listening to him
Bayard.
right now.
I think this is a translation. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I believe it's a translation. It says, here's the description. Eliminate the impossible, Sherlock Holmes said, and whatever is left must be the solution. But as Pierre Bayard finds in his dazzling reinvestigation of the Hound of the Baskervilles, sometimes the master missed his mark. Using the last thoughts of the murder victim as his key, Bayard unravels the case, leading the reader on to the astonishing conclusion that Holmes, and in fact Arthur Conan Doyle, got things wrong. The killer is not at all who they said it was. Part intellectual entertainment, part love letter to crime novels, and part crime novel in itself. Sherlock Holmes Was Wrong turns one of our most beloved stories delightfully on its head, examining the many facets of the case and illuminating the bizarre interstices between Doyle's fiction and the real world. Bayard demonstrates a whole new way of reading mysteries, a kind of detective criticism that allows readers to outsmart not only the criminals in the stories we love, but also the heroes and sometimes even the writers. And that does sound really cool because Sherlock Holmes is super popular, and his most popular story is actually The Hound of the Baskervilles. It's been filmed, I think, 30 times.
Wow.
That's a lot of different versions.
That is a lot of times.
Yeah, and so you sort of it's a really good story. What's really interesting about it is Sherlock Holmes is absent from most of the story. And that's not that uncommon with some of the Sherlock Holmes novels, but it's strange in that it's a Sherlock Holmes story, but he's not present, and so that's. People are, saying, well, why is he not here? And, well, if you've seen some of the versions, they sometimes put him in more than he actually was in the story, and it's very good. It's a great story. It reads really well. It's a cool story, and I like the explanation that's in the book, but I'd be curious to find out what alternative explanations are out.
You bet.
It's cool idea.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see what else is spotting, making me excited. Pandora's Store, I guess you have that already.
Yeah, I'm listening to that right now.
Okay.
But I haven't heard any of it this week, so I've still got 35 hours left.
Set in the 24th century, this epic novel of human extraterrestrial war engineered by an unknown omniscient being is the best-selling author of Reality's Dysfunction.
Yeah, this thing, I mean, the book, the very opening of the book is, it's terrific. There's landing on Mars. Okay, so, he's going through, how complicated it is and everything, and this crew, they're to the point where they're bickering at each other a little bit. Because they've been cooped up for a long time. Anyway, first manned landing, so they land on Mars, and it's been pre-decided who goes first, so there's jealousy there, who's going to go down there, and the first guy, who's a, captain type dude, he gets down there, and then he says his words, like Neil Armstrong did, and then they hear a snicker, and they're like, what? Who's snickering at us, and they anyway, they turn around and they look, and there is a hole through which they can see a laboratory on the Earth, and there's a guy standing on the surface of Mars with like a fishbowl thing on his head. It's a really light spacesuit, with a hose attached to it that goes through that hole back to the Earth. So, and then that's the end of the prologue. So that's the prologue of this story. So apparently they've, found a way to travel without using spaceships.
That sounds pretty good.
So anyway, you just had to laugh out loud. It was great.
That does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm still afraid of 40 hours though.
Yeah, 40. I mean, man, Yeah, what a commitment.
It is a major commitment.
Wow, it's huge. And the other killer is, it's part 1 of 2.
Yeah.
And it's not that Judas Unchained is a sequel, as I understand it. And I read this. It's the second part of the novel, so I would assume that part 1 just kind of stops. And you got to go to part 2.
Better have some point at which you decide.
Yeah, but it's just I don't see it as any different than reading something like George R.R. Martin, A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got really great, people really like the book, so yeah, and I'm enjoying it so far myself. I mean, I really like it. It's just long.
Well, then, if you're enjoying it, then 40 hours is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's still a challenge.
If you're thinking, hey, God, can you just get on with it? I haven't thought that at any point yet, but I'm only about 5 hours in, so.
So you're 1/8 of the way through. I don't
That's
know.
right.
My math might be off there.
See, if I listen to it 8 hours a day for 5 days, I will be done with it. Can you imagine?
8 hours a day of listening.
Yeah, 8 hours a day of listening for 5 days.
That's hardcore.
That is hardcore. Mm-hmm.
So I assume, let me just check, make sure I'm correct, that these files are still available. Yes, they are. Okay, so quick, if you haven't already, go subscribe to the podcast by the Literature of the World Department of the UCSD. Stephen Potts, professor, has put out a course on science fiction. 18 lectures. Well, maybe it's only 17 lectures, but there's 18 files.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Literatures of the World. I didn't even know there's a department of Literatures of the World. I guess it's like English or something. Maybe it's not. It's from University of California, San Diego, and this is the university that puts out basically a podcast, I think, for it could be every course. If not, It's every course. A lot of courses. And there are problems with this in that it's all automated. So if the professor doesn't plug in the mic or whatever at the beginning of the course, you've got a blank 2-hour, 3-hour file.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, it's got a beginning and it's got an ending, and the rest is blank. Or if they plug in, 10 minutes into the 2-hour block or the 3-hour block, then you have to wait 10 minutes. But the good part about that is because it's automated, there's more likely a chance of a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise podcast.
Yeah, neat.
So I took I took a course. I audited a course by a professor there on East Asian politics, and it was really interesting. And the way this works is it doesn't last very long. I found this on the DIY Scholar blog, which is a blog that follows podcasts and other things from universities.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't expect this to be around very long, so maybe till the end of the month. Maybe.
I see that there's a guest lecture by David Brin and a guest lecture by Werner Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
Those come through okay?
I haven't got that far into it. I listened to the first one, which is completely blank.
Oh, wow.
And the second one is about Ubik, and as far as I can tell, the third one's about Ubik as well. So I'm going to be working on the fourth one relatively soon.
Sounds great. You bet.
Last bit of news I have is about the release of Uller Uprising, or Uller Uprising. I'm not sure which is the correct way to pronounce it. That's one more H.B. Piper novel done through LibriVox, and I thought it was relevant just because it's deliberately inspired by history. Let me just read the description. Other Uprising is a story of a confrontation between a human overlord and alien servants, with an ironic twist at the end. Like most of Piper's best work, Other Uprising is modeled after an actual event in human history. In this case, the Sepoy Mutiny, a Bengal uprising in British-held India, brought about when rumors were spread to native soldiers that their cartridges they were issued with were coated with animal fat, especially pig fat. The rebellion quickly spread through India and led to a massacre at the British colony of Kanpur. Piper's novel is not a mere retelling of the Indian Mutiny, but rather an analysis of a historical event applied to a similar situation in the far future. And this is sort of relevant just because we were talking, or I was talking last week about
history,
history informing fantasy, makes it better. I believe that's true of science fiction often too.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the future, you really should be talking about the past as well, because the past will resemble the future in some ways.
Yeah.
It comes from the same place.
Right.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the famous works of science fiction, like 1984. 1984 is not a book about the future. It's a book about the past, extrapolating that into a fictional future. Right? He's talking about what's happening in Russia during the previous 10 years, basically, or the previous 20 years.
Right.
And he's saying, look, what would it be like if that continued into the future? Not pleasant.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. Yeah, when your fiction is inspired by, real science and real history, it's much more interesting than if it's influenced by other science fiction. Which I think is what, well, I don't think, I know that, one heck of a lot of the stuff that's being published today is written by folks that don't really know that stuff. They know science fiction. They don't really know science.
Yeah. And I can I can see why that is I mean, unfortunately, I run across a lot of people who are writing fiction, and you sort of I say it's unfortunate, but I read a lot of blogs and a lot of listen to podcasts about people who are writing fiction, and their inspiration doesn't seem to be from the right sources, and so generally their stuff doesn't appear correct. It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't sound right because their inspiration is they want to be a writer, and wanting to be a writer is all well and good, but if you don't have an idea, especially in science fiction, if you don't have a strong story that's coming from a certain position, it won't work out. Now, there are exceptions, right? Mike Resnick, I keep saying this, and I think I said in the last review I did of his Starship series. I think it was book 3.
Yep.
I was saying, he doesn't have any new ideas here. There's nothing new. But it doesn't matter because it's Mike Resnick, right?
Right.
Most people aren't Mike Resnick. They can't carry a story just with dialogue and sort of remixed situations. The Starship series is basically just Star Wars. It's this, it's a universe of space opera and spaceships flying around, but there's no ideas there that are, brand new and relevant to space opera that haven't been done a million times before. It's just that he's able to carry it off because he's Mike Resnick, and he knows how to write a story. No matter what you give him, he can do it.
Right.
And that's why there's some virtues to be had in even some poorly written science fiction if it's got fantastic ideas.
This has been the SFF Audio Podcast. Please join us at www.sffaudio.com.